All right.
Welcome to everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with roll call. Sam Schoenberg, present. Jenny Schaefer,
Present.
Murillo Garcia is present. All right, we wanted to start off tonight with a moment of silence. We've actually had two tragic incidents in our neighboring district and in our district itself. We want to remember Officer Torres of the 18th district and the resident in Lincoln Park, Kevin Patel, who was murdered last week. So we just wanted to take a moment to honor them. Thank you. Today's agenda, we're going to hear from the Avondale Restorative Justice Court and also the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. We have a lot to work through, but we're keeping our upfront section as we normally do, the updates. We're going to keep that a little bit on the shorter side. And we are going to have some question and answer sessions for folks after each presentation. So be on the lookout for that. And then we will have public announcement and public comment towards the end of the meeting. So if you have any public comment that you would like to give today, see Anna in the back over towards the back right. She'll give you a slip like this, and then she'll bring it up to us, and we'll call you to come speak. I just want to point out too, if you do come up toward the front, just be very aware of this cord here. I don't want anybody to trip, so please be very careful if you come up. And as always, our slides are going to be posted online, so you can always find them at our website, 19thdistrictcouncil.com. So if you miss anything, feel free to check out the presentation there. There are no votes today, so we're going to keep moving. And we're going to start with our district council updates. First, as you guys, or many of you know, that we have been working on a parking enforcement alternative response initiative, is specifically offloading parking violations from the responsibility set of CPD and instead moving that over to a different department within the city. We are happy that we've been given a lot of coverage on this initiative. We were in the Block Club, we were covered by Club Chicago. We were published a op-ed in the Chicago Tribune, and Southside Weekly also had an article on this initiative. So very much encourage folks to check that out. Just keep progress on what we've been doing, but that's also another way that we can make the city aware of our initiative and keep us moving forward. We have also mentioned that our subject matter here was previously scheduled for April 1st. That's when we're going to present in front of the Committee for Public Safety. That was canceled and now is rescheduled for June 25th. So we're really looking forward to getting in front of that committee so that we can make our case for the public, for the parking enforcement initiative that we're working towards. Additionally, because that we have more time, we're taking advantage of that time. So we're meeting one-on-one with these departments, the stakeholders and relevant decision makers within each of the Department of Finance, Office of Emergency Management, and CPD as well, so that we can talk through these ideas and hear from them on the perspective of offloading parking violations from CPD responsibility. We'll also be requesting a joint meeting with all of these departments because we think it's important that all these stakeholders get in the same room and communicate and talk about this one idea so that we don't have any potential pitfalls in these ideas that we are trying to put forward. And we have a comprehensive proposal that we can then take to City Council to hopefully get this parking initiative that we've been working towards and make it a reality. One of the other things that we've been looking through is that we're really trying to seek clarity from the mayor's office and specifically around the People's Plan for Community Safety. One of the things that you can see here on the image is that the People's Plan for Community Safety is including a 911 calls for analysis and also reviewing additional alternative response options. From my perspective, there seems to be a bit of confusion and conflating of these two ideas. I do see 911 calls for service different from the overall alternative response initiative. Alternative response can include multiple things, but one of the things that we wanted to do is look to why people are calling 911 as a reason to look towards ways that we can offload specific responsibilities from CPD. One of the things that we're starting to realize is that the alternative response initiative that is both talked about on the mayor's people's plan and this 911 calls for service analysis is being used as one and the same, and that's very, very different for me, specifically just because alternative response can mean multiple different things. And a 911 calls for service analysis does just what I said before, actually looks at why people call on 911. So one of the things that we want to be very careful of is as the city moves towards initiatives like the workforce allocation study, that they see these two things as different, but also encourage the city and workforce allocation group to consider a 911 calls for service analysis, because ultimately, if we're thinking about where to deploy our resources and our officers specifically, we want to make sure that they match the responsibility list that we see fit and why people are calling 911. The other thing that we have realized is that the city does on a press release that they sent out about the alternative response initiative is that the U Chicago Health Lab and Crime Lab are partnering with the city on these initiatives. We've also been meeting with them because we know that they are doing great work specifically around alternative response, and we've heard from them that there has been any movement on that front, at least since last May. So we want to be staying ahead of this specific issue just because we think it's important to incorporate a 911 calls for service analysis, not only in the workforce allocation, but also exploring other ideas like our parking violations initiative. So I just want to call this out for everyone to know, just to see what we're seeing and to let you guys know that we are going to continue speaking with the relevant parties, whether it be Gary Gatewood of the mayor's office or the workforce allocation group. We are going to just keep an eye on this so that we make sure that this is a comprehensive study and it's going to deliver what we need.
We next want to let everyone know that the last vacancy on the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability has now been filled by Mayor Johnson and confirmed by the City Council. Many of you who come to these meetings know what CCPSA is, but for those who don't, it's a 7-member commission that has wide-ranging oversight authorities over the police department, police board, and civilian office of police accountability. Right now, they're engaged in a nationwide search to fill the chief administrator role for the civilian office of police accountability and looking to hire the next leader of that accountability group. They're also going to be receiving tomorrow the draft traffic stops policy from CPD and working with CPD over the next weeks and months to come up with a traffic stops policy that makes sense and is informed by community voices. And the CCPSA has final say over what that policy looks like. So it's an important commission. I serve on the nominating committee of elected district councilors who nominate to the mayor those who could serve on this committee. And we nominated Gina Piemonte, who's now been confirmed by the City Council by, I believe it was a unanimous vote last week. The CCPSA requires very specific requirements, both by geography and qualifications of experience. And this vacancy, because there was a vacancy in the CCPSA, was a person who lived on the west side of Chicago and had at least 10 years of experience as an attorney with significant experience in civil rights, civil liberties, criminal prosecution, or criminal defense. Gina Piemonte fits that description to a T. She's lived on the west side for the last 20 years. I believe she's lived her entire life in Chicago or surrounding. For the last 30 plus years, she has worked for the Cook County Public Defender's Office. She's led she's been the chief of the felony trial division for the last several years. She's been involved in more than 80 jury trials over her time. And I believe she's retiring within the next year or so from that position and would be able to devote even more time to work on CCPSA. So she's a great candidate for this. I do want to say that these are difficult qualifications to match. And so I gave a comment at the City Council Committee on Police and Fire in support of her nomination, but also to let them know that there's not just that many Gina Piemontes walking around the west side with 10 years of legal experience that we could find for this position. Those categories really restricted who the committee could consider for the role. So we're looking at ways of tweaking that ordinance at some point if we open it up to make it easier to find the best qualified people from throughout the city. But wanted to let you know that that position has been filled.
Okay, up next is about the workforce allocation study. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the workforce allocation study, it is something that actually is the independent monitoring team who is part of monitoring the consent decree has been calling for to make sure that we are using the resources we have within our police department most efficiently and most effectively. For those of you who haven't seen the latest report, we actually bumped up quite a bit the number of paragraphs we have towards completion, so that's really exciting. And one of the reasons they credited that for was that work was underway for this workforce allocation study. So this is a really important study, and like I said, it's just going to really make sure that we are really smart with the resources we have. We've maintained around like 11,600 officers for the past several years, so making sure, you know, we hear calls for more, but we need to make sure we use the ones we have most efficiently and effectively, because despite efforts, we're kind of at this number. So right now we are kind of in between two phases. They've done a bunch of interviews where they were trying to talk with officers, talk with community, have a basic understanding of what was going on and how to plan the project. Now we are in the current state assessment, so they're trying to understand currently what type of resources we have and how they're being deployed. And they are going to be starting very soon, or if not already, the staffing analysis. So really looking at the patrol side and the non-patrol. This is sworn officers and also non-sworn members of the department, to see how they're being staffed and making sure, like I said, that they're being placed in places where they're needed most. As Sam mentioned, the CCPSA, the commission, they are having a meeting tomorrow night. It'll be highlighting a couple different issues that we've talked about. One is traffic stops, which I think Sam quickly mentioned, and the second is they're going to have a representative from CPD present about the updates from the workforce allocation study. So this will be exciting to hear and to get caught up on what's going on. Something else, we know that an important piece of the workforce allocation study is making sure that there's real community engagement, and that CPD and Matrix hear from you guys and from us about what we want and what we're looking for. So I created a workforce allocation working group between all 66 district councils. There are 6 of us from the district council on it. And we've been engaging with CPD. I'm really excited that we had a nice meeting this morning with them, where they shared kind of their vision for us to help lead some of the citywide engagement sessions, which I think will be awesome, because the first set of citywide engagement sessions, for those of you who saw our emails, they were really targeted mostly on the south and west side. We did get one eventually at Truman, which was exciting, but you know, this way we can make sure that they're spread across all 22 police districts, which I think is a really important thing. And another thing, they will be releasing reports from those community engagement sessions in May. And those 2 community engagement sessions really focus on alternate response and community policing. And so what they're going to do is use input from that to kind of poll questions and think about what the next, like, based off what they learn, what else do they want to know from community, and then use that to inform the workforce allocation study. And then one other announcement there about the workforce allocation study, CPD has launched a page on their website to share updates on what's going on with the study. There's a couple different resources on there now, including one where you can ask questions. So if you have any questions about the study, there's a link on here, there's a link on our website, and like we said, we'll post all this, but there's a way to do that. I just wanted to make sure people knew about it. Good.
Did we ever find out who paid for the allocation study? Not-for-profit of the police department?
Yeah, it was a not-for-profit.
You know, I'm not saying this wrong, man. How could you not take that?
It's exciting. I think it's the most comprehensive workforce allocation study that has been done. There's been others that in the past that haven't been released to the public and have been it's been focused mostly on patrol. So this one is exciting because it's funded privately, there is that guarantee that it will be released to the public, and it's very comprehensive.
this is going to be really quick, but I just want to give everybody an update on the community partnership plan. For those of you who do not know, our community partnership plan just lists out initiatives and objectives for us based on addressing immediate needs of the neighborhood. So we have total of 50 goals, and we have started or have some ongoing or have completed 82% of those. We had a little bit of change, but as most of you noticed, we can really focus on the workforce allocation study and our alternative response for parking violations initiative. So that's been taking up most of our times and as of late. So I think this is the quickest we've ever turned to our speakers, which is great because this gives us much more time for them. But we wanted to just quickly lay the groundwork in terms of the perspective of restorative justice and why we're here. So we're really here to explore. For me specifically, personally, restorative justice is always a term after being in this position for 2 years that is a little bit murky. I don't know exactly what it means, so that's why I'm really excited to learn about it today. But from our understanding, we know that prisons often lead to recidivism and recurring crime. Restorative justice is one alternative that can increase accountability to victims, repair harms already committed, and prevent future harm. So that's our understanding today, and we're hoping to learn a little bit more. Another thing that we want to mention is in the ordinance that created the district councils, it is one core responsibility of district councils. Specifically, we are to work to develop and expand restorative justice and similar programs in the district. So this is part of that initiative, and we're happy to be doing this today. And then there's several restorative justice efforts going on the north side. The Restorative Justice Community Court, or RJCC, is an effort of the Circuit Court of Cook County, currently working to implement restorative justice. And we also wanted to shout out our district counselors in neighboring districts, specifically the 17th, 20th, 24th, who are also working to bring the RJCC further on our side. So with that, I would love to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Margaret Collegiano.
Thank you.
And I'll go ahead and click for you, so just let me know.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction and for invitation. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this meeting and listening about the Restorative Justice Community Court. I will narrow it down. Restorative justice is a very big topic. We can talk about New Zealand, Europe, whatever you want, but I'll narrow it down just to the Circuit Court of Cook County and what we are doing in Cook County, because you'll be surprised what we are doing in Cook County. I usually start, this is our leader, Chief Judge Timothy Evans. I usually start any presentation with his quote. The Restorative Justice Community Court is the place where healing is the goal rather than punishment, and the quest for justice becomes a collective effort. Why I'm using this quote? Because this one sentence describes our entire mission. What do we want? We want people to get better. We want them to be healed rather than be punished. And we need community members to come to our peace circles and help us to do that. Let me tell you a little bit about the Justice Community Court. My background is in community psychology, and I have been involved in any phases of bringing Restorative Justice Community Court to Avondale, and also established the first Restorative Justice Community Court in South Village. The last one was open last year in July 2024. So Restorative Justice Community Courts are community-based criminal courts that resolve non-violent cases committed by young individuals, age 18 to 26. You must quickly ask me, why 18 to 26? Because the human brain is not fully developed until we are 26. So there's a huge amount of research that's showing us a person who is 21, 22, 23, even if they have an adult person body, they can act like 13, 14 years old. And if you really recollect this period in your life, we all can relate to it. Restorative Justice Community Courts are the first courts of their kind in Cook County to adopt peace circles as the resolution process for criminal cases for adults. And I'll talk about it in a minute because this is important. In addition to resolving cases, we are committed to helping our participants finding jobs, education. We help them with transportation, therapy, and other needs that they might have to succeed in life and avoid failing back into the court system. Because ultimate goal is to make sure that they never come back to the justice system, that they will not reoffend. We don't want to create recidivism, but we also would like to fight incarceration. And as I mentioned to you, we have 4 locations in North Longview. This was the first court, opened in October 2017. Then 2 other courts were opened in 2020, Avondale and Inglewood. And our last baby is South Village Court at the suburb, it's southeast suburbs, near Indiana border. This is about restorative justice, just the entire concept. Why is it different than traditional justice? So traditional justice asks 3 major questions. What law have been broken, who did it, and what does the offender deserve? We kind of changing the perspective. We are interested in what happened the day the person was arrested. What happened that day? What caused this arrest? Who was hurt? And what could be done to heal and repair the harm? So who is eligible to have the opportunity to be part of restorative justice community court? The person must be 18 to 26 years old, have been charged with a nonviolent felony and a or misdemeanor, live, work, or worship in one of the neighborhoods which has a community court. Of course, we want people who make one mistake in life, not people who are constantly making the same mistakes. So majority of people who are sending to us have a nonviolent criminal history. And of course, they need to accept responsibility for the harm caused. So how the process looks like. We have an expert here from State's Attorney Office, so he's fully familiar with that. So in State's Attorney Office, there is a special prosecution unit, different prosecution unit, alternative prosecution unit, and they are sending cases to different courts. Because we have also other options. We have a huge area of problem-solving courts and other programs that help people. So first is the referral. They are sent to us. Then they're coming to the court and they sign an agreement with us. And this, they need to want to be in our court. So nobody's pushing them, or nobody's convincing them. It's their decision. Then we're sending them to peace circles. This process is crucial and it's also very important, and I'll tell you why. It usually takes between 3 to 5 weeks. The person is coming every week to San Hyacinth Basilica, where we are located, and they are sitting for 90 minutes in a peace circles. During this time, the repair of harm agreement is created. The repair of harm agreement is a legal agreement between court, community members, and participant who is coming to the court. An ideal repair of harm agreement has 2 pillars. The first pillar is addressing the past, how to repair the harm done by crime. And the second pillar is about the future. What could be done so this person will never be arrested? And then when the repair of harm agreement is completed, they're coming back to the court, the agreement is implemented and approved, and they start working on their goals. And we have case managers who are assisting them in this process. When all the goals in the repair of harm agreement are completed, then their case is dismissed and their record is expunged. So the person has a whole new life. I'll tell you quickly about court structure. Jenny visited us a couple of times, and I know that she's planning another visit this month. So I invite you all to come. We are in San Hyacinth not every Friday, but almost every Friday around 10:30, 11 a.m. We start our court session open to the public. And the courtroom looks very different because everybody's on the same level. Judge is not wearing the robe. So when you enter for the first time, you really don't know who's the offender, who's the prosecutor, who's public defender, who's coordinator, who's the circle keeper, and who's the judge. Because everybody pretty much, it's very casual. So in every court, we have judge, assistant state's attorney, public defender, court clerk, social service employee, interpreter if they need somebody who will help them with language difficulties, and of course, deputies from the sheriff's department. So this is our bigger team. Our small team that work with our participants on weekly basis is court coordinator, case managers, and peace circle keepers. So what is this restorative approach? We create a culture of belonging. Because people who are coming to our court are our neighbors. As you see in one of my first slides, they have to live in a neighborhood. And guess what? Some of them live 3 blocks away from me. And whenever I go for a walk, I'm passing their homes. So they're my neighbors. We focus on the root causes of crime. We transform mistakes into learning. Restoration, we praise restoration over punishment, and we focus on met and unmet needs of person harmed and person who harmed. And ultimately, we are changing their lives, behaviors, approach, and mindset, or at least we initiate those changes. We're showing them that life could be different. Many people who are coming to the justice system, they're tired of their lifestyle. It's not an easy lifestyle. And this is important slide, at least one of my favorites. Restorative justice courts were evaluated in a year and a half ago, in July or August 2023. And this evaluation was pretty much what we want to see. We want to see the recidivism rate. What is the success of people who are coming to our court? Because you can measure the success in many different ways. How many people completed the program so far? What was the other outcomes? But we focused here mostly on recidivism rate. And we compare 2 groups of people, the same age group, the same neighborhood, people who received the opportunity to come to RGCC, and people who are sent to criminal court. From our area, people are usually sent to Skokie or to 26 in California. So among those who have been in the community for at least 1 year after release from RGCC, because this is the time that we want them to have, 13% of our participants were charged with a new offense, compared to 65% of people who unfortunately did not get a chance to come to restorative justice courts, to complete these courts, or just in regular criminal court. Why is that, you might ask? Because we expose them to resources. We send them to school. We offer them jobs. We send them to therapy. And guess what? If they went to, if they came back to school and have a full-time job, they're busy. There's no time for anything else. Also, at the same time, we did qualitative research, which were based on interviews. And we interviewed participants who completed restorative justice community court, what was their experience, and also we interviewed 30 people, 30 participants who completed the RGCCs, and we interviewed 20 community members who are serving in the peace circles. And this was really eye-opening. And these are the major findings. There are many more. For example, I heard that we fight incarceration, that people feel good about having restorative justice in their community, restorative justice court. We are fighting incarceration, that this is a positive asset in the neighborhood, that these courts bringing resources to the neighborhood. And participants told us that these courts initiate the process of personal change. They get a job, they got their GED or high school diploma, they repair their relations with their families, and so many other successes that I'll show you their testimonials in a minute. And the major finding from interviews with community members was that the image of RJCC is very different than traditional criminal court and is seen as a positive asset in the neighborhood. Why? Because we are connected with all these resources that are already in this neighborhood. All right. And these are the testimonials of our participants who graduated. This is the slide from our graduation. These are not our participants. Those are the people. Two of them are our volunteers, and two of them are people who are working for local organizations who are helping us with resources. One person is from Also, and another person is from Puerto Rican Cultural Center in Humboldt Park. So these are the testimonials of people who completed RJCCs. And I recorded their testimonials when their case was dismissed and when their record was expunged. So I feel like they can speak freely what they think about our process. So what they said, my experience with RJCC was a big awakening. It gave me a different perspective of my life and my future. It helped me understand my past and I realized why I am who I am now. It helped me grow a lot. I never planned to go to college. This month I finished my first semester of college. They encouraged me to do better, and now I have 2 jobs and I'm thinking about opening my own company. This course gave you the opportunity to improve your life. They are taking other things under consideration, not only your crime. I was rushing in life. I was rushing to grow up. This is why I was arrested. In RJCC, I realized that there is no rush. I have a lot of time to complete my goals in life, and everything is possible. During the program, I went to college. I thought I would never go to college because no one in my family did. My relations with my family improved, and I realized that I need to apologize to my parents. Those are the benefits of our courts. Empowerment and participation. So we empower people who are coming to our court, or at least showing them that this is possible. And we include community members in the process. We promote accountability and healing. This is the high program completion rate, and I would like to give you our one-pager. Our completion rate is over 90%. 90% of people who are coming to us completing the program successfully, which means that they do not have any other cases at the time, that they're with us and they're really working on their goals. We reduce recidivism. These courts are cost effective. We offer flexible and tailored solutions, so there are not to the same repair of harm agreement, like they are not to the same people. We prevent future harm. Again, we praise community involvement, engagement, and trust. And with this success, we think that our court can serve as a model for justice reform nationwide. And I also can tell you a little bit about it. We influence other jurisdictions. And nobody is a prophet in their own town, so sometimes you don't hear about it. However, almost once a month, we have a phone call or email from other counties that ask us to send them information, what we are doing in Cook County, what are the programs, how the Restorative Justice Court works. April 14th, we have a delegation from the National Association of Counties. People who are in this organization, there are people, elected officials from over 100 counties around the United States, and they were in Cook County, and they were listening to our presentations about restorative justice community courts, and they were very impressed. We have so many people who are visiting from other counties and would like to implement this model somewhere else, or at least part of this model. We are also working as a mentors for other counties. Currently, we work with Costa Conta County in California. And on this picture, we also do a lot of local work. We work with Chicago Public Schools, and we building awareness or introducing young people to restorative justice and also to nonviolent communication and the way that life would be different. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments, reflections?
We are over. Can we hold questions? Sorry, my son on to the end, and that way we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Margaret. I thought this is. Thank you so much for sharing that overview. I will say that I have been to the court a couple of times, and seeing it in action is really like one of the most beautiful things. I will admit that I had a couple of tears running down my eyes. Just the amount of support that these young people get who, didn't make a mistake in their life, but the support that they had to be able to actually do the work to repair the harm and to better themselves so that they're not in a position to make those same mistakes was just beautiful. I have two quick examples that I saw. One was that guy who part of his repair harm agreement was to get his GED, and he had just taken the test and he passed the English part but didn't pass the math part. And so, the judge and his support team are like, great job with that English. Do you need me to get you a tutor? Do you need us to get you a tutor so that you can finish that math piece? And they were able to help get the tutor. I thought that was just a cool example of how the restorative justice courts really do make a difference. Another one was a guy whose car broke down, couldn't get to work any longer. Part of his repair harm agreement was to have continuous employment. So they got him a bus pass. Just like little things that stand in people's way from meeting goals. This court was really able to help them achieve. So it was very cool. Thank you and I will end it right now, but invite you officially at the end. On Friday, the community court is open to everyone every Friday, but this Friday we are bringing people with us to go observe the community court so you can see it in action. So if you're interested, please reach out to us.
And I have to add something else because we have a person from the State's Attorney Office. Restorative Justice Community Courts are probably the one court on the earth where prosecutor and public defender working together to help offenders. Seriously. In front of community members who are observing the court.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Okay, now we want to explain why we wanted to have the State's Attorney's Office come and come to our meeting. We are very grateful to have Ethan Holland come and share about the State's Attorneys, about their new, well, let me start over. As you all know, we have a new State's Attorney. Her name is Eileen O'Neill Burke. And one of the things that she is instructing her State's Attorneys to do, instead of sending the gun-related cases that have typically been going to our JCC, those ones that are for just possession of gun, a lot of times it's because they don't have the proper paperwork. They have another type of diversion program called the First Time Weapons Offender Diversion Program. So one of the things I'm really hoping that the State's Attorney's Office can do is explain to us, kind of why that decision was made and share a little bit about that court. Another important statistic is that we saw in the WTTW news article was 82.8% of cases in the RJCCs were for nonviolent gun-related charges. So with the removal of these cases, that's a significant number of cases that will no longer be going to RJCCs, which worries some advocates about what the future of these courts could be. I think there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of ways that we can make sure we get the right people in these courts while also getting the right people to the gun diversion program or the weapons offenders diversion program. So I'm really hoping also that the State's Attorney's Office will speak to us a little about kind of your vision for maintaining RJCCs in the future as well. And with that, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Ethan Holland, who is the Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's my great pleasure to be here. Just to let you know a little bit about myself. I've been with the State's Attorney's Office for 25 years. This is obviously personally rewarding, and it's been my absolute pleasure to work for the citizens of Cook County for 25 years. So what is it that our office does? And what is our mission statement? We're dedicated to upholding public safety through the fair and efficient administration of justice. This includes, number one, prosecuting criminal offenses. But what people don't also realize is that we also represent Cook County in civil matters, the elected officials, as well as employees. And we provide extensive services to victims of crime and witnesses. We are the second largest prosecutor's office in the country. Cook County has about 5 million people in it, which is more than several states combined. We have over 1,200 employees in our office, including more than 600 attorneys, 115 investigators, and 390 administrative staff. We have 6 bureaus, which was up from, actually, I think it's 7 bureaus now. I don't know. Let me switch out. There we go. Thanks. Yeah. And all those bureaus handle a variety of matters. We have the Criminal Bureau, we have the Civil Bureau, we have the Juvenile Justice Bureau. We now have a Special Victims Bureau. We have a multi-jurisdictional bureau. We have our Investigations Bureau. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anybody. I probably did. But it's a very big office. So what are our core responsibilities? Obviously, prosecuting crime, handling all misdemeanor and felony crimes. Cook County averages about 60,000 misdemeanor cases a year and about 30,000 felony cases. As I indicated, we also do civil representation through our Civil Actions Bureau, where we serve as legal counsel for Cook County government office holders and their employees. And as I mentioned, the Juvenile Child Protection Bureau handles cases that involve juveniles and civil actions against their parents, guardians, in instances of abuse or neglect. Our new state's attorney, as of December, is I promoted her. It's Justice Eileen O'Neill Burke. She also was a judge, but she also was an appellate court justice. And we're very excited about the direction of the office. So the RJCC, I don't want to go over too much stuff that you've already heard, but obviously there are 4 courts. You heard about the participants and their connection to the community. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the first-time weapon offense program, as well as our support for the FOID reform legislation, which I believe is going to be voted on tomorrow down in Springfield. So fingers crossed for that. And then also, continued diversion for nonviolent offenses, retail theft, criminal damage to property, forgery. What we are not doing is putting guns in the peace circles anymore. The prior administration did. We feel that it's not conducive for that. Having said that, we do believe that there are other alternatives for low-level gun offenses that really serve kind of the same goals as the circle process. So one of the things that we're doing now is a felony review bypass program. I see a police officer out there who's probably very excited about this. Our felony review unit is a unit that runs 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, reviewing every felony that's charged in the city of Chicago, as well as all the suburbs. And so frequently what happens is our felony review assistants are called out to either interview defendants who wish to speak to us, witnesses, in an effort to really be a gatekeeper for felony cases, to make sure those cases that we are putting into the system are belong there, right? That we can sustain our burden in those cases, and really that they're the best cases, strongest cases that we can make prior to charging them. The felony review bypass pilot program started in the 7th district in Englewood, and also most recently in the 5th district, which is Calumet. And it's really to prioritize the violent crimes. We want our felony review assistants focusing on the victims of violent crime, not on low-level, non-violent offenders. The eligible charges for the pilot program are UUW, UUW by felon, and ag UUW. We do not bypass armed habitual criminal charges, armed violence, machine gun cases, guns that are recovered from the execution of a search warrant, and other enumerated offenses. The good thing about this program, there are many good things about this program, but one of the good things about this program is, when police officers would call in a felony case, they would sometimes have to be taken off the street and wait for felony review to get back to them. And it really wasn't a good use of their time. And so by bypassing this, obviously they can get back out in the street and do the job that they're paid to do, which is to keep us all safe. Having said that, these cases are reviewed by our office. It just happens later. It happens at the preliminary hearing stage, or if we're going to indict a case in the grand jury. So our ASAs will look at these cases and make sure that they are viable, make sure that they are ethically charged, and that they have a reasonable probability of being of winning in court.
Can you define UUW? Sorry.
Sure. UUW is unlawful use of weapon. It's really just a fancy way of saying possessing a gun, right? UUW by felon is obviously that same charge, except for the person who's charged has a prior felony. And the ag UUW is a UUW with kind of other attendant facts to it.
And sorry, one more point just for clarification. Not all of those gun offenses are eligible for bypass, right? Like they have to be caught on camera.
Yeah, so there are we do go around and train the officers in the 5th and 7th district. These cases have to be on body-worn camera. They have to be, strong cases that we feel we have a lot of evidence on, just so cases aren't getting dumped in there. And it's worked out very well. And we do have some stats, I think, going forward. So my understanding, and I think we're going to get into it in another slide. So the operational details, as you just pointed out, we train the officers, and these cases are supported by body-worn camera. And again, they're reviewed by assistant state's attorneys before hearing. And the preliminary hearing court, obviously, it's just a probable cause hearing, right? It's kind of a mini trial. There is a defense attorney present, the defendant is there, and if the judge agrees, there's a finding of probable cause for that felony charge to continue through the system. If it's indicted by the grand jury, and the grand jury feels like there's enough evidence to proceed, they will deliver a true bill. And it's just two different ways of kind of initiating charges in our system. Why was Englewood selected? Sorry, my wife is calling. Englewood was selected because they had the highest volume of cases in the city. They reported 63,628 calls for service, which is the highest per capita in the city. And so that's really where we want to kind of start the program. And obviously the 5th district is very busy as well. So what are the results? As of, I think, yesterday, there are 50 cases filed, 37 reached either the preliminary hearing or grand jury. All were held for trial, which means there was a finding of probable cause where there's a true bill delivered. And as I said, it increases efficiency and quicker officer redeployment, so the police can be doing more important things than waiting on the phone. And there's an ongoing review with the Chicago Police Department to track the effectiveness of this, but so far, it's been working very well. So the other piece of legislation that's going to be voted on tomorrow, I believe, is the FOID access for first-time nonviolent gun offenders. And again, this law is an effort to make sure that people that are charged with low-level nonviolent offenses have a pathway to proper gun ownership, right? They go into this program, there are classes, and they must wait until previously, people would have to wait until the charges were dismissed to get a FOID, and it was very difficult to do after that. What we're trying to do, and as it indicates here, it was introduced by State Senator L.G. Sims and State Representative Justin Slaughter. It allows the first-time offenders charged with Class 4 felony gun violations to apply for a FOID card while they're enrolled in the diversion program. And the FOID cards would be issued upon the successful completion of that program. Having said that, all existing legal requirements for FOID eligibility remain in the hands of the Illinois State Police. They have the authority to not deny applications if criteria are not met. But it's really just a way of recognizing that, you know, not everybody caught with a low-level gun offense should necessarily be punished. You know, the purpose is to make sure that they're educated about gun use and that given kind of the program that allows them to become lawful gun owners. Again, the objectives is to prevent repeat offenses by facilitating legal firearm ownership for rehabilitated individuals, and to make sure that the cycle of gun charges stemming from a lack of legal avenues to obtain a FOID card post-diversion. It's supported by the state's attorney, and I don't want to speak for the public defender's office, but I think it's got a wide support, and it is, as I indicated, awaiting legislative approval in the General Assembly. And if passed, it would involve coordination between the diversion programs and the Illinois State Police to process the FOID applications. So that's about it. I mean, that's kind of an overview of our office. You know, the main takeaway is really those gun offenses that are already in the RJCCs are going to remain there. This is not a retroactive policy. We just feel going forward there are other avenues and other ways to kind of get to the same place through different means.
Do you mind speaking a little bit about what the first-time weapons offender program looks like, and if you have any results on that?
Sure. So it's obviously by state statute. It's not a program of our office necessarily. It basically allows participants to complete a program and not be saddled with a felony conviction, right? That's the process. That's the purpose of it, is to make sure people that make mistakes aren't dealing with those mistakes for the rest of their life, right? It affects housing. It can affect jobs. It can affect a whole myriad of lost opportunities, quite frankly. And we feel like there's a better way to kind of deal with those cases, right? If they fit the criteria, we want to make sure that we're being kind of smart about the way we're prosecuting people and not just being punitive.
Sorry, do they have like the wraparound services to get the support they need?